What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are finally back home. Earlier I had to take off to go to the machine shop. I dropped off the crank for the B20 and the cylinder head for the B20 as well, so we can have all of that machine ready to rock and roll when it comes back. I think tomorrow. Stop by a friend's house, grab some lunch, just finished lunch, and now we're back here in the garage. It is cold. It is 2 o'clock and it's cold. Yeah, anyways, so you guys saw we went to the storage unit and we grabbed my spare all-wheel drive transmission. And the reason why I grabbed this transmission is I've decided that I'm going to use my spare transmission in the wagon. Let me explain why. So when I assemble the wagon back together, I am going to put the new turbo on it, and the car is going to need a retune. So I figured if the car's going to get retuned, let's just put the spare tranny in it. I didn't want to use this transmission for a couple of reasons. One, it is CSS versus VSS. That means the speed sensor is on the counter shaft and not the analog that sits in the back. And two, this is the spare transmission that's going into the new build when I go pick it up. I hate using parts that belong to a different car. I like my cars to have its own parts, but after kind of sitting around and doing some research, I think it's more fitting to use this transmission in this car. Again, let me explain why. If I use this transmission in the next car, that means I would have to do a cluster swap in order to, I guess, get the frequency right to use that speed sensor. Kind of like what I did with the KRX, using the EK cluster and then switching over to the K Pro V4, utilizing the built-in speed converter to kick out the correct signal to the cluster. And because the car is going to see the dyno anyways, if this gear ratio is different than the one that came out of the car, we're going to tune the car according to this transmission gear ratio, so that way the boost by gear is correct. If we're running boost by gear, because the car is off wastegate, no boost controller, but tuning the car with the correct gear ratios to the boost by gear, we shouldn't have any issues if we do it all together. So with the other transmission, with the analog speed sensor, we can put the Ceiling Cam 1 in there, and then on the next car we can retain the cluster cable. That's a giveaway. But we can use the single cam speed sensor to retain the cluster cable to retain the stock cluster. I want to say in the previous video you guys saw we did the Max P and Rod PR3 piston combo installation on the LS short block. This thing is sitting here for when we get the cylinder head off the other one. We'll assemble the rest of it once we have the oil pump and the rest of the good jazz to go on here. But for the meantime, it's gonna sit right there. In today's video, the goal is just to hang the transmission in the car. Maybe, possibly, I do have flat stock. Possibly make the rear motor mount as well. All right guys, so we have the transmission installed. All of the bolts are secured and everything on the top has been installed as well too. Shifter cable, shifter bracket, magnets, slave cylinder. We still have to wire in the CSS. I got to do the ground right here. The back motor mount is not on yet. I do have to repair coolant temp sensor right here. Somehow I ripped off the plug itself. Everything on the right side of the car is installed in the wheel well. Everything on the left side is installed as well. So the axle angle did not open much. I don't know if you guys can see this. It didn't open much with the engine fully tilted back. So if you look, the jack is down there on the transfer case and the subframe is literally touching the back of the tranny where we cut, and the axle angle didn't change much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstall the original one that I made just to call it a day, because I really don't want to cut and grind right now. Without the bush here, I can literally hear myself echo all the way into the neighbor's side. So definitely do not want to cut at this time because it'll be really loud over there. The only thing I need to do underneath the car is put the drive shaft back onto the transfer case, and I think we're going to wrap it up right there, only because we have to modify the turbo in order to throw it on the car and make it all work with the downpipe, which we'll do at a later time because my friend KELLYBUILT is out of town and I cannot get the V-band flange from him. So let's go ahead and just button this all up. Drive shaft is installed, and the last couple bolts here, these two are for the water line for the turbo. These are for the turbo manifold, which I'm actually missing one, must have vibrated off or something. This one actually belongs right here, and I don't know where I got this one from. So yeah, that's that. And then this one's for the wastegate flange. This one is for the downpipe. This is all lug nuts, and that's pretty much it for the transmission install. I did oven clean the transmission. I should have done it beforehand, but after throwing it in the car, it kind of looked uglier than the last transmission. So there's some oven cleaner about 15 minutes ago. I kind of degreased the engine bay a little bit because I'm gonna spray the whole thing down. Granted, this car did sit on the dirt, and the dirt goes up and caked and stayed and just made it look brown. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video, guys. I wanted to get more done, but one, it is cold. Two, still kind of weird about the bush not being there. But progress is better than no progress. Spare transmission is in the car. We're going to use the other transmission once parts show up, which is actually on the way, and then we'll use that transmission in the other car. This transmission is just more suitable anyways for this car because of the S2K cluster and the CSS counter speed sensor right there. It just kind of makes more sense to use the CSS transmission with the S2K cluster in the wagon, because I don't want to deal with the cluster swap when I do the other car. So I'm still gonna have to wire all of that up. Probably gonna do it at the same time I throw the turbo kit back in the car, because that is the last thing it needs before this thing can get back on the ground and turn on, run, and drive again. So I am going to wrap up the video right here, guys. I hope you enjoy the progress update on the wagon. We are one step closer to getting this thing back on the ground and ready for some PRs again. So if you guys enjoyed this update, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for more shenanigans to come, I'm going to be I want to get on the red car this week as well as the giveaway car. So if you guys want to see some progress updates on those two, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.